This is Lewis Hart for the Ring magazine. Delighted today to join with Frank Smith, take two, after a bit of a mess up on my end. But yeah, obviously first things first, we're here in New York. How's things? How are you?
Good, mate. Pleasure to be back in New York. The sun is shining. What more can you ask for?
Absolutely. A great card on Saturday night at the Louis Armstrong Stadium. Time's gone on. There's been a lot of promotion, a lot of back and forth between either fighters in both, I guess, double main events in a sense. Looking forward to Saturday night, especially at a new venue as well.
Yeah, can't wait. It's going to be a special venue, as the Ring and Riyadh season teams have shown over the years. They want to do things differently, and this will be no different come Saturday night. Great card, as you say. Hamzah Sheeraz, Edgar Berlanga is a brilliant fight, and I think a true 50-50 as well. I think you can look at, Hamzah Sheeraz coming off the back of the Adames fight, he's got a point to prove. Coming up in weight, he'll be a lot more comfortable. But Edgar Berlanga as well, he's coming off the back of, can't read too much of his comeback into his comeback fight, but the Canelo fight, he showed how much heart, determination, something that I think maybe people would have questioned before, and that is a real 50-50. Shakur Stevenson, excited to see him back in the ring. Undoubtedly in that pound-for-pound top 10 list, a special fighter, a real fight against William Zepeda, a mandatory fight that probably should have happened a while back now, but a proper fight, and a fight he needs to win. He knows he needs to win and go and deliver a big performance to get those big fights down the line.
And for yourself, Frank, I know you are sort of always into sort of the big events, etc. But when it comes to going to new arenas and new venues, how do you find that different aspect of it when it's not been done before?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult because you're starting for it. Look, it's easy. We're like a travelling circus in our business. You go back to places, it becomes just run-of-the-mill norm, and you just want to improve the experience. Ultimately, here you're doing something brand new. But that's part of the game. If we want to take the sport forward, and we want to take it to where we all believe it can get to, you need to try different things. This year, Flushing Meadows, next year could be Wimbledon.
Yeah, and that's been something talked about for quite a while. But just touched on Shakur there. Do you feel like there is that extra pressure on him to be aggressive and sort of be that front foot fighter? Especially when there is the connotations of recently, Tom and Jerry from Turkey, etc. Is there that extra pressure, would you say, on Shakur?
I think there's extra pressure on every fighter, not just Shakur, to go in and deliver an entertaining fight. Look, Puello Matias as well, another great fight, world title fight on the card. They got to go in there and they got to deliver entertainment. It's quite clear. And it's not just what His Excellency wants, it's what fans want to see. I am more of a casual boxing fan than anyone, as in, I'm a sporting fan, I like going to events. You want to be entertained. And, people's minds now, they can only really focus on a short amount of time. Look at everything. Our life is surrounded by reels and, TikTok and all these things where it's quick, fast-paced. And people just want information quickly, and they want to be entertained immediately. No teasing. Yeah. It's just get straight in there and have a brawl. And I get that. And it doesn't suit every fighter's style. But that's the way the game is going. I think at the same time, what is good is the fact of people losing has lost that pressure. Back in the day, it was, if you lose, you're finished. And that was never, for me, that should never have been the right way. It's if you take proper fights and you deliver entertainment, you deliver a real fight, that's just the start. And how many people have we seen go in and be involved in spectacular fights that they haven't won, but come out with more plaudits than they did beforehand with an undefeated record? That's what we want to see. That's what's going to take the sport forward. Entertainment. We all want to be entertained. So, yes, is the pressure on Shakur? Yes, but the pressure's on every fighter. Not just on Ring cards or Riyadh season cards, but every fighter across the world who wants to entertain and impress and get these opportunities.
I wanted to ask you, obviously, about the main event with Sheeraz and Berlanga. Do you feel like, from a matchroom point of view, you look at someone like Diego Pacheco and view that potentially he could face a winner of that, or one of them two?
Yeah, for sure.
He's got a hard fight next week, but yeah.
Yeah, look, he's got a real fight against Trevor McCumbee. McCumbee's last fight was against Caleb Plant. Obviously, a close encounter on the Canelo Berlanga undercard. I think he's a perfect opponent for Diego in the position he's in. Diego's a young guy, 23 years old. He's been with us since 17, 18 years old. What a journey he's been on. But he's now WBO mandatory. He's mandatory for Canelo's super middleweight title. That's a great fight. He's going to be involved in massive fights. He wants all the biggest fights. It's our job to take him at the right pace. And I think that McCumbee fight is a perfect step up. And there's a list of names we're looking at what's next as well, but not looking beyond Saturday. Next Saturday in Dallas.
Dalton Smith, he's here in New York.
Yep.
Do you think he's, how likely do you think it is that the mandatory will get pressed after Puello and the Matias fight?
I think so. I think Dalton deserves it. It was something that Maurizio and the WBC ordered as the next fight. I believe we'll see it. Dalton is ready for the biggest fight. He's been active after a period of inactivity due to injury. This year he's had 2 fights in 4 months. Fought in January, in April, and a good 12 rounds against Matthew Germain as well. Exactly the kind of thing he needs ahead of a tough fight against the winner of Saturday night. So I'm very confident we'll see that fight next. We'll push hard to get it in Sheffield as well.
I wanted to ask about Imam Khataev. Obviously, news come out today of a 2-year ban from the International Testing Agency for clomiphene. Where does this stand with the David Morrell fight?
I don't know. I mean, obviously he's boxed I think 3 times since then.
Yeah.
And that is part of the problem with these testing agencies and the information. That was in April 2024. That was 15 months ago. And he's fought 3 times. I think the process in all ways needs to be cleared up. I don't know. It's not my call. Obviously, I'm sure there'll be discussions ongoing about what the plan is with that.
Were Matchroom aware of the failed test for the Palacios fight?
Today was the first I saw of it.
Okay.
When I was on a run in the park. I went on Instagram when I finished, and I saw, I think it was Boxing News or someone had posted it. That was the first thing I'd seen.
Yeah. On the topic of failed tests, did want to ask about Francisco Rodriguez Jr. I guess sort of news come out today of obviously an adverse finding in a test for his fight against Galal Yafai. Especially when you consider how the fight went as well, it must be very disappointing to hear that as well.
Yeah, of course. Look, we invest heavily in drug testing. It's been a matter of a lot of discussion over the last few years. We ensure across our shows, we implement. We do a lot of work with VADA across all of our shows. There's a process that now has to be gone through into the B sample, and that will be something that Rodriguez will deal with the BBFC and the WBC. Obviously, we represent Galal Yafai. As soon as we got the news, it was, I think, 1 o'clock in the morning in the UK. So first thing, 6 a.m. in the morning here, I spoke to Rob McCracken and Galal, and just said, we're going to announce it. But we wanted to make sure, obviously, Galal was made aware first and foremost. And that process will be ongoing now. It's not really a process we get involved in. That's something that the fighter will deal with, the WBC and the British Boxing Board of Control, and we go from there. Obviously, if he goes through the process, the B sample follows what has happened in the A sample and he's found guilty, then I would expect the WBC order Galal Yafai to challenge straight away for that WBC world title. But, no one wants to see this in the sport. We implement these things. I see a lot of questions, people saying, can't it be done quicker? They're post-fight night tests. So they're done
was it a post-fight
fight.
test?
So straight after the fight.
So that's the one he failed in, right?
Yeah, UCAD and VADA would test the fighters straight after the fight. They will then go off. We haven't had any notification from UCAD as of yet. VADA was the first one to come back. We all work as quickly as possible to, we want to make the sport as safe as possible.
So Francisco Rodriguez, I'm sure it was December of last year, boxed in Texas, where he received, it was a no contest, and he received, I think it was a 4-year ban from boxing in Texas. That's as per BoxRec and sort of from the Texas Commission. When the fight got made, were Matchroom and the WBC aware of that ban in Texas and the reasoning for it?
No, we haven't been invited. The fight was ordered by the WBC.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So it was a purse bid fight that the WBC ordered. It was never the fight we wanted to take for Galal Yafai. We wanted him to get that opportunity to go straight into the world title fight, but no, that's not something we were ever made aware of, or the British Boxing Board of Control for that sake, because they wouldn't have,
So that's what I mean. I mean, with that coming out, is the onus, I guess, on the British Boxing Board of Control for them to find a reasoning for that? Because as of yet, no one really knows why he's got that 4-year ban in Texas prior to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the process they go through when it comes to licensing the fights. But yeah, it's the first I've heard of it is in this interview here.
Really? Have you not seen it? Oh, okay. I thought you would have seen it before. Okay, that's surprising. But yeah, that's sort of something I didn't realise.
But that is also the issue with boxing. And how do we regulate the sport on a global scale, whether that be drug testing, medicals? There's so much work to be done, and it's a huge job.
Yeah. How does it get done, though, would you say?
I don't know. I think it takes everyone coming together. But, to do that on a global basis is a very hard ask. Look, in the US, you have every independent state has their own athletic commission that deals with the sport of boxing. So do you bring them all together? There's so many. Where do you start with it?
Okay, I understand. But Frank, always appreciate taking time to speak to me. Always good to catch up, and I'm sure it won't be too long since you catch up again. Appreciate it, mate.
Good to see you, mate.